we're talking about storytelling. So how important is storytelling for you? So, we've talked about young kids and, how we can get them interested through books. And nurseries and schools can buy your books. I think it would be brilliant for the younger girls. But when we start looking at older girls, how important is it to talk about stories and the journey in tech? Because role models play a really, really important part in trying to, I guess, influence and empower other girls to start thinking that tech is for them.
Yes. Yeah. And there, you're doing a brilliant job.
So you. We know so many people in the industry, don't we? Big shout out to everyone tonight who is actually paying it forward and, giving up their time to really see more girls and women work in the tech industry. But, role models, for me, role models are really, really important. If you can see someone doing a job in tech, you're more inclined to join it in. And I strongly believe in that. The work that I do in schools, for instance. June was on our on episode 1 last week, and she is actually the brand ambassador for Kajigo, and she's on my poster. And I remember taking her into a school, and when the girls walked in, we had 15 girls walk into a workshop, and they looked at the poster, and then they looked at me and they said, "Oh, I bet she's just a model." And I'm like, "No, actually, she's a woman in tech." And there was silence.
Yes.
And they're like, "You telling me this woman works in technology? Tell us more." And all of a sudden, it was an icebreaker. They all wanted to know, who this lady was. She, what she was developing, what she was doing, how did she get into tech, where, and we got them to Google her. And they were blown away. I mean, like everyone was last week with June, she's amazing, but they were absolutely blown away. And, it is right. Someone's just said representation matters.
Yes,
it does.
Yes, it does. It does.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
And we need to see more role models. And I think you talked about listening to your inner voice as well. If we can get girls to start listening to their inner voices, how does that work?
How I see because we are all seeking our path, you could say in that sense. And in this case, I was seeking my path. Like I was seeking creativity in tech for years, like I wanted to see, I can be creative doing tech, right? So I think there are 2 legs under that table. And one is looking out, get inspired, get people that actually are able to fire that inside of you, and get you moving and create the momentum that you need to be able to do the work that you're meant to be doing in the world, right? But on the other side of that table, there's this moment in which you say, okay, I gather enough input, now I'm going to go home and I'm going to listen inside, right? And I think that's as important as the other side. So how do you do that? I personally wish that I discovered journaling much earlier in my life. It sounds very simple. Sounds very simple.
Yeah.
But, Ferus and Ona were born in my journal. Yeah. Like I started journaling 3 years ago, and I was like, wow, what is this? How come, so now it's becoming more popular, like remember it was the 80s, the 90s, we had other ways maybe of growing up, but there's this book Playing Big from Tara Moore, and she talks a lot about how to listen to that voice within and create a relationship with your inner mentor, let's say, without leaving out.
Yeah, yes. It's very powerful, and it's more about teaching people or teaching girls to start listening to their inner voice and listening to their and I guess it's a belief system, isn't it?
Yes.
You give yourself that belief system that you can do it, and it becomes so empowering and then motivating for yourself. So where we look to others to motivate us, you then have that, you empower yourself, don't you? to go out.
I think it is Elizabeth. I think it is Elizabeth Gilbert that once said that what she does in her journal, it's actually to write love letters to herself daily.
Oh, lovely. I love that.
And I thought that was amazing, right? Because we need to remind ourselves daily, what we want and what we envision, and the day gets very messy.
Yeah, it does. It does.
So someone is asking if I journal on paper or an advice. I journal on paper, always paper, always.
Yeah.
And the way I started, it's morning pages. So you wake up, you do 3 pages in your journal of anything that pops your mind, and the idea comes from Julia Cameron, from The Artist's Way, and a friend of mine actually pushed me a lot into reading that book before getting pregnant, and I was like, no, I don't really, and then I got pregnant, I got this baby, and my life was such a chaos that you know what, it cannot be worse. Let's give it a try. And they tell you normally, like, the first 100, your morning pages are going to be very boring. Don't expect anything fascinating happening there. And I remember my first 100 pages were like, okay, so why is this baby not sleeping? And then suddenly one day, I discovered that, that whole thing with creativity, and I missed the sketching and the coloring from my architecture days. And then Ferus and Ona were there. And then it was all about Ferus and Ona. And it was all about, getting to know these characters, and healing that whole relationship with creativity. And basically having that creative practice, daily creative practice that a lot of people were talking about. And I was like, I think this is something for me. Again, the inner mentor, right?
Yes.
Like the inner mentor appeared there and said, look, Miriam, you haven't seen anyone having a creative daily practice, in your life, okay, get out there, look for people that are doing that,
Yes.
and integrate it into your life.